Hi guys, welcome to your first of 3 Excel workshops about handling different types of data. Now in this first one we will be starting with handling categorical data, and for this we'll be using the data that you collected on your data collection rally with a questionnaire asking people about their opinion on plastic use in supermarkets as well as their dietary preferences. Now this is the data set here. You should all be on the categories worksheet for students in the MUST tab, which is this one. And we have several different variables here which are organized in the columns of this Excel sheet. Okay, that's always the way we organize data in Excel. We have variables and columns, so those are different bits of information that we have collected. And then in the rows, we are representing individual data points. In this case, that is the people that you asked those 2 questions. Now, our variables are workshop, this first one. Now, because you are such a large group, you are divided into workshop groups A through to E on a day. And then on the day of the data collection rally, I also then divided you into subgroups 1 through 4, of about four students each. Then we have the respondents that each of the groups asked. So each of you was asked to pose the questions to 5 people. Okay, so each of the groups has 5 respondents here. And then there are answers to question 1 and question 2. Question 1 was about people's opinion about plastic use in supermarkets, about whether they agree or disagree with the fact that supermarkets should reduce plastic use, where 1 was strongly disagree and 7 was strongly agree. And then the second question you asked was about people's dietary preferences, where A stood for no preference, B stood for vegetarian, C for vegan, and so on. And so this is the data that we'll use. And because of the way that I laid out this data set for you to input your data, each group that was potentially going to take part in the rally had a place, almost like a placeholder 0 here, and they input their data and then that placeholder would have been replaced with the actual answers by the people. So these zeros here aren't actually real answers because the option 0 was not given for any of the questions. So these are actually data that have to be removed from this data set. And that is the first thing that we're going to do. We're going to tidy up this data set of all the people that you asked, as well as these empty rows of groups which weren't there or didn't collect the data or didn't put it in. And then we can go on to actually doing some data handling and exploring some of this data. So the first thing we need to do in order to tidy this data up, or the best thing we can do here, is to sort the data. That means that we are essentially moving these rows, which, like I said, represent individual people. This is one person, respondent number 1, asked by group 1 in workshop A. These are their answers to those 2 questions. So we're essentially just moving these rows around so that all of the ones which have zeros for these answers, so the empty ones, come first. Okay, and we can do that by sorting the data by the value that is in these columns for the answers. So we highlight all of the data up here with the column identifiers. And then we're in the Home tab. We go over here to Sort and Filter, and then Custom Sort. Now we can put in here either question 2 or question 1 because both of these would have been answered, would have had a 0 in them if no data was inserted. So we'll just keep it as it is at the moment for sort by answer 2. There's column right here, column E, by the values, okay, and order them from A to Z, or lowest to highest in this case, okay. So we'll press OK, and that means that all of the rows which had zeros here for the answers appear first, and then all of the rows which had, of the people which answered A to question 2, and then all the B's and so on. So now we have all of these zeros, all of these empty rows of data that we don't need in one place, and we can highlight them using the row identifier. So I'm clicking down on the 2 right here, this little arrow appears, I click down on this, I hold the mouse down, and then I drag down to the last 0 and I let go. And now if I right click and delete, this deletes all of these empty rows of data. Okay, there are different ways of deleting data. The right click delete is the best option here because it will delete the whole row of data rather than just the contents. Okay, so this is the way you should do it. Right click delete, and then all of these are gone. So now our data are rid of these empty rows of this none data that we had in there. And now we are ready to do some more data handling. And if you watch the next video, I will show you how that is done with categorical data.